everyone to Be Elite Pod. I'm Shawn Michael.
And I'm Party Johnnetty. And together, we are the PodRockers.
The PodRockers are recording BEP live from our home Elite studios to bring you the PodRocker Nation, the very best in AEW wrestling commentary. And this week, we are bringing you a BEP House Show Wrestler Spotlight. And this house show, we are featuring the one, the only Riho.
That's right. We are going to be featuring Riho. And guess what, man? Next week.
Yeah, it's here.
It's the premiere. It's here finally.
I know. I mean, I've been wrestling with the kid. The dog got involved because the kid was beating me up. So the dog's like, hey, give dad a break, right? Because my kid's been wrestling since he's 3, right? That's a young age to start wrestling from what I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. They're training young now.
But yes, we've got AEW on TNT. We've got a name. We'll announce that in the news for it. We're going to be bringing you a live podcast. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited. It's been, 30-some days since we've had our last AEW wrestling match, so I'm just pumped and excited to get this show going.
Me too, Shawn Michael. And I mean, even better news, we found out that Chris Jericho got his belt back again. So that was a relief on our part.
Yeah, he found it at a Baskin-Robbins this time, though.
Yeah, well, all
weird.
Those flavors.
I know, right?
I love ice cream.
Yeah, it was but see, it's kind of bland. It was in the cookie dough. Like, you'd think it'd be in, like, the birthday cake or, the fancy Capricorn fart or, unicorn poop, but no.
I tell you, man, sometimes you got to go with the originals. That's
Oof. All. As a pod rocker, I like to explore. I like to experiment. But when it comes to ice cream, yeah, I just stick to the originals.
Yeah, that's right. You know what you love.
And what we love is AEW wrestling and getting to see these new wrestlers, which AEW has done a ton of. And that's why we get to talk about Riho, who I was exposed to through AEW's, Double or Nothing and things like that, getting her the first exposure kind of to a lot of the American audience. So, Party Johnnetty, what did Riho do? Her pre-wrestling bio, what did she do before she broke into the wrestling scene?
Okay, so get this. She was born, she went to grade school.
Okay.
And that's it. And then she trained at the age of 9. 9 years old when she started training.
Wow. So I was training kind of when I was 9, but it was me body slamming my pillow off the couch and getting yelled at because I broke the couch.
Yeah, right?
So she was legit training and getting ready for wrestling at 9 years old?
Yes. Yep. She was training with her sister, who was 12 at the time. And yeah, they were actually training for wrestling. Now, I don't know how that comes to be. Sometimes, even with crazy stuff in America, I don't know how things come to be when people are so young and they have the right and the correct avenues to reach such a certain period in their life. Well, you see and you hear about these kids that, Division I college football, for instance. Then you find out that these kids have been playing football since they were a toddler. And I'm like, holy hell, man, I was, trying to walk and hold myself up at that age. And these people are that talented to do something like that. It's absolutely crazy and amazing to see that, yes, they're like, you know what, 9 years old, that's fine. You can train to be a wrestler. I mean, you hear those stories here of someone slipping in, saying that they're 18 when they're really 15, and so they train when they're underage here in the States, but never have I heard a 9-year-old training in the United States for professional wrestling.
I would imagine most, even with parents' permission, won't let you do that, right? I would imagine you got to be at least, above the age of 12, 13, 14. It seems like that's kind of the age that you do some of those things.
Yeah, right. Even with parents' permission, some people are just too worried about the liabilities. There's certain situations too, state by state, where you can have a parent sign a waiver liability form, but it still doesn't matter. The state law says, hey, you know what? If they're still a minor, you're still liable. Even waiving the parental rights, waiving the child getting injured or hurt. So that's really on you. And so I know a lot of people would be afraid to be like, nah, you got to be 18. I'm sorry. I don't want anything to happen. This is a dangerous sport. This is a dangerous entertainment. And, a lot of guys obviously also say they want you to focus on school and continue with school too. And, if you do start training, if anything, you'll be, building the ring and taking down the ring, setting up the shows, doing all the small stuff first. Maybe they teach you to ring announce, or maybe that they make you take tickets and obviously clean up. And, maybe you start to ref depending on where you're at and who you are in the business. But yeah, at the age of 9, that's absolutely insane.
Is there anybody else that started training at that young of an age? Like, what's the youngest that you know of in the States?
Oh man, gosh, I think maybe X-Pac might hold that, or maybe even Jeff Hardy might hold that title. I'm trying to recall. I know X-Pac, Sean Waltman, was very young when he got in, and I think he lied about stuff. I want to say Jeff Hardy was also very young as well. I think even Nick Jackson was pretty young when he got into training, and for some reason I want to say X-Pac was the youngest that I know. But those that are listening, let us know. Tweet at us, or send us an email or whatever. Let us know who was the youngest wrestler in the U.S. that had trained, whether they did it with intention or if it was allowed, or if it was, hey, I'm 18, kind of like the military lifestyle, right? You're 16, sign up, say you're 18, ready to fight and serve for your country.
Yeah, I would assume like maybe 10, 15 years ago, you get away with that pretty easy, because I'm sure then it's just like you sign this paper, you give us your ID. Everybody has a fake ID, and if you got the money, it's like, sure, we'll train you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now, Mexico, I think, is a different story as well. A lot of guys train very young down there. I can't say that I know anyone that off the top of my head that trained at the age of 9, maybe, possibly. A lot of great families in the history of wrestling in Mexico. We obviously know that. So a lot of those guys start young too. And that's not uncommon for them to be in their, mid-teens and a little late teens to start training. So the U.S. is a little bit different. I couldn't tell you. Probably someone in the Hart family, probably in Canada, is the youngest.
Yeah, makes sense. I think they do. Don't the Harts start when they're like born. 6 months old?
Yeah,
pretty much.
exactly.
Yeah, they're born. They come out. They hand them like the ring gear, and they hand them like stuff to do the ring. And
Stu Hart broke them in very quickly.
All right, kid, time to go to the dungeon. So Riho, she starts out super young. So she's 9 years old. She's training. When does she kind of really break into kind of the indie side of it, like getting into actual matches?
Actually, like around the same time. So it's 2006 that she debuts, and she debuts. So first off, she trained under Emi Sakura at the Ice Ribbon Dojo. And she debuted against Nanae Takahashi. And I apologize if I butcher some of these names. I'm not too familiar. I only know a bit on Joshi wrestling, female wrestling in Japan. So I'm not too familiar with some of the names here. But, like, she starts young and she just takes off, man. And in 2006, she just has a really good year. One thing that I didn't mention, too, when I was originally doing the research for Riho, it also mentioned that she's a Japanese idol. And I don't mean that in the sense of like American Idol. It's a very weird, the best way I could describe it for American fans is kind of like what happens with some boy bands here, where they're kind of like groomed and they're looked at and they're taught at a very young age what to do. To be forced and pushed into this like weird stardom role.
Okay.
Some of the idols in Japan, it's kind of similar. Like, I mean, you hear a J-pop and you hear a K-pop and all that too, with South Korea. Like, I mean, they tell them when to eat, sleep, use the bathroom, you name it. It can be very strict and it can be crazy. Management's weird. You reach a certain age, then you're kicked out of one group, put into another. So, she is a Japanese idol. I was trying to do some research on that. Like, I guess she sings. She might be modeling too. Part of her thing that she did though as well was that she like sang and wrestle. So like they would sing and then they put each other in like wrestling moves and stuff while singing. Really, really interesting and weird. But yeah, so 2006 when she starts out, man, and like it's not like they just give it to her soft and easy. No, they're like, here, you're going to work. And Takahashi is a familiar name that keeps coming back in and out of her life. Now, I don't know her career, obviously, to the best of my knowledge, but it looks like Takahashi has kind of like this long-standing rivalry with her, and I don't know if she's ever beaten her or not. But like, it's kind of a cool ongoing story if you just look at what you see on paper. Maybe there's something more to it. Maybe there's not. I don't know. But like, it reminds me in a weird way. Same with her trainer, Emi Sakura, that like you just have this story, this long history. And it reminds me of the Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega and, Ibushi. So Kota Ibushi. And that storyline that went all over with them. So in the same way, it's just like seems to me they know how to tell a story. One of the craziest things ever, the coolest thing ever, is she was the youngest person to main event at the Korakuen Hall, and she lost her belt there to Sakura after a 30-day reign. But the reason why that's so big is Korakuen Hall is like a staple with Japanese wrestling. New Japan basically calls it home. A lot of wrestling has happened in that hall. If you look on YouTube, Trent Beretta and oh man, why am I'm blanking on his name, but Trent Beretta and one of the other guys that's now in still in New Japan do a little bit of an intro for you, for American fans, actually, like coming over to Japan. They're like, hey, this is what you need to do. And I was like, thought that's really cool that they do stuff like that. Just a lot of history for wrestling with this place. So for her to main event at such a young age, the youngest person ever to do that, that's pretty damn awesome.
So how old was she when she main evented there?
Oh man, well, I guess probably 9 or 10, maybe.
Also, it was like right when she started. Wow.
I'm trying to think. She might have been, I can't recall. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe it was 2010 actually when it was either 2009 or 2010 when she main evented there. And so what? She would have been maybe 12 at the time, 11 or 12. So yeah, still pretty young, which is absolutely insane to think, could you imagine? That's like starting up a rock and roll band as a kid at that age. And they're like, oh, hey, you're going to play Madison Square Garden or, playing in the NBA,
Yeah, I was going to say like equivalent to like sports, like, oh, hey, you just played in the, Little League World Series. Okay, well now you're going to play in, at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely for her, like really cool and crazy. I mean, just to think about something like that. So yeah. Big call, big memories, crazy. And that was all with Ice Ribbon. So that she wrestled with them up until 2012. And then she would go on during all this time too. She would also appear in DDT Pro Wrestling, where she teamed up with Kenny Omega and Mr. Number 6 to win the 6-man tag team championship. And that's kind of the stuff where I think people recognize her from too. Kenny had also wrestled a young girl there as well, who I believe at that time she was 13. That wasn't Riho.
Okay.
But
yeah, that was going to be my main question because I remember seeing that match because I think it went to a draw, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but the girl ends up winning because of that, because because it hit the time limit. So Kenny didn't beat her in the time limit, so she won. So yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. She and Kenny, and Kenny ended up at that time leaving the 6-man tag group, and someone else came in, and but she was also wrestling for Union Pro Wrestling. At this time, I'm not familiar with this, but at Union Pro Wrestling, she wrestled as Black Cherry, which was the huge nemesis for Cherry, and I mean, if anything, it just kind of reminds me of like when Jericho went over to Japan and he wrestled, and he was supposed to be like the rival for Jushin Thunder Liger. Except this sounds like this actually worked out, whereas Jericho's didn't. So
I feel like this is like, here's Cherry, and she like doesn't have a mustache, and here's Black Cherry, and she does have a mustache.
She's twirling it. Yeah. I'm not too for sure how it goes, but like, there's also a Tiger Mask and Super Tiger Mask and all those too. And so a lot of like Japanese wrestling and stuff, and Japanese anime and manga are kind of like, some stuff's interwoven with one another. So they kind of play off each other there. That might be something like that. I would have to look into that more. But like I said, I'm not a giant Joshi fan. Like, I just know some of the staple matches. So I'm interested to see what that was all about myself. She then ends up in 2011 wrestling for Smash, and Smash was actually owned by Tajiri, and people might know Tajiri from WWE and ECW. The Green Mist, not to be mistaken by the Great Muta, but he also did the Tarantula and the ropes, which a lot of actually female wrestlers use. I know Tennille Dashwood has used that as well, and maybe AJ Lee might have used it before. So yeah, definitely cool seeing that. She actually had a press conference for Smash one time, attacked Tajiri and challenged him to a match, but he ended up beating her. And after Smash unfortunately went out of business, she started wrestling with Wrestling New Classic. And then later on, like I said, in 2012, she would announce that she would be leaving Ice Ribbon, in which she wrestled Emi Sakura in one of her last matches there. And I believe you can see that one on YouTube. The downside to this, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here when it comes to the matches, like a lot of the stuff on Ice Ribbon, you can't find online. It was like, really, you can only find on DVD. And I don't know if that's them just trying to keep their intellectual property safe and make sure that, nothing's violated with their copyrights or anything like that. Or maybe it's just one of those things that no one has the time to upload Ice Ribbon matches from, the late 2000s, early 2010s. I'm not sure what's up with that, but that's kind of sad that you can't see any of her stuff that she really shined through. She was actually the Triple Crown champion there, the first ever Triple Crown champion for them as well. So kind of bummer with that. In September of 2012, she joins with Gaito Move Pro Wrestling, or it might be Gaito, I don't know. I think it's Gaito. I watched a couple of the matches on there and on YouTube, and they have, God bless wrestling and people and being so nice, because the commentary, even though some of it's not the best, but it's in English, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty awesome that you're trying to reach out to a Western crowd. That's really cool. So she's had quite a career there too, and it's actually based out of Bangkok, Thailand, and they move around. So like they've wrestled in Thailand, and they wrestle in China, and they wrestle in Singapore. So they wrestle all over the Philippines. It's like really cool to see stuff like this happen, because you don't recognize that nowadays, especially Western wrestling fans, especially when it's female wrestling. But to see something like that actually work its way around different countries, like it's its own territory system, that's pretty awesome. Later, she would also take part in Pro Wrestling Eve. It's a UK promotion. She wrestled there for a bit. And then she joined AEW. And later on, she joined World Wonder Ring Stardom, in which she's one of the champions in Stardom right now. So that's where she's at with that. She is the high speed champion. So She has that belt, and she currently wrestles for both AEW Stardom and some of the other small stuff too, as well. Some of the other smaller territories, promotions, and whatnot. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for her, where she started before AEW.
Yeah, it's awesome to see, like, you see that veteran that's been at it for years and years and years finally get their break at the ripe old age of 20 years old.
Yeah, man. Holy jeez, man. She's 22 now.
Wow.
22. And it's like she's already had a career that most men would die for.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, she's probably, like, you could say she's probably not even in her prime yet, right? Like, isn't probably more like 27 to 35?
Oh, yeah, man, definitely. I mean, yeah, usually in the world of wrestling, the difference between like other sports, when you're in your 30s, they basically are going to take you out and put you in the glue factory. With wrestling, it's like dudes really, really showcase their prime from like 34 to 40. It's absolutely crazy. It's like the last ride, man. And then you take it a little bit easier. But I mean, look at Liger, for instance. The dude's, I think, 52 and still wrestling. I mean, Minoru Suzuki still wrestling. It's kind of amazing to see what these guys can do. And, and on top of that, still take that beating to their bodies that they do, man. So like, I mean, on the one hand, I'm wondering, like, I would love to ask her, and it's not like it's kind of an offensive question to ask someone this, but still to legitimately want to know, how is your body holding up? How are you feeling? You were taking bumps during a time, and not the illegal kind of bumps that I'm talking about here in the US, but you're taking back bumps, body bumps at a time period where your body's growing. And yeah, your joints and your bones are starting to harden up a little bit more. So like, you always joke with seeing kids fall and whatnot, or they fall from a 10-foot slide and they bounce back up and they're fine.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, that's, like their bones aren't fully, solidified, functioned. It's like a build up with cartilage and the bones are a little bit softer so that they can take this. But I mean, you're taking, let's be frank, you're taking some severe bumps at an age when you're supposed to, your body's trying to grow and trying to, mature into a young woman. And so it's like, I don't know what that has. Is it going to be the same like with kids, what they're finding out with studies here in America with CTE and playing football? You're seeing a drop in kids playing football, boys playing football now because of the concussions and whatnot.
And I don't remember from her style if she has a lot where she leads with her head or not. It seems like it's a lot more kind of with her legs, but still, you're bouncing, you're hitting. It's those subconcussive hits at such a young age that, when she gets to 30, is she going to start slowing down because of it? Or it's hard to tell, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, we know about slowing down too, because like you're talking about like these kinds of bumps. It's not like those hardcore PodRocker bumps that we do at Longhorn Steakhouses. No, those are just saved for when we go with a little bit of the bubbly and party it up there. Not these kind of bumps. That's for us.
Yeah, that's right. The bumps
allegedly
that are safe and legal in Mexico now. So.
But Riho, so we see some of her history here, her long history at such a young age, but what's her wrestling bio? So what's Riho kind of have for signature moves, chants? What's some of the things she's known for?
Oh, yeah, definitely. She's known for the jumping knee, the Northern Lights suplex, the face kick. She does 619, diving elbow drop, a European clutch. She does the Nico clutch, the camel clutch, the Samada, and the Three Amigas, the triple suplex, which is, a take on Eddie Guerrero's Three Amigos. So that's kind of what her repertoire is, technical type of wrestler. And she has had some great back and forth between that style of wrestling with some other females too. One of the things I also have to mention here is that at the age of 12, she slapped Minoru Suzuki in the face, and she lived to tell about it. You can check that out. Someone posted that on Twitter. It might also be on YouTube. I saw the video on Twitter in which Suzuki looks her up and down, kind of laughs. She walks up to him and slaps him in the face. He goes and grabs her, and like everyone in the ring runs in and breaks it up. It's absolutely hilarious and fun. It's also crazy. I believe it was Asuka, who is in WWE now, had asked Minoru Suzuki for a match and said, not only to not go gently on her, but actually to hit her harder than he would hit some of the men.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, that match is an uneasy one. Suzuki, I know this isn't a New Japan or a Pancrase podcast, but if you don't know who Minoru Suzuki is, just check out some of his stuff on YouTube, man. And so that's what I say when she survived Minoru Suzuki.
So he kind of like the wild, crazy, kind of like super intense kind of guy. Like,
yeah. Minoru Suzuki is, I absolutely love him. He's one of my favorites. He's just absolutely crazy from his times with Pancrase, like I said, with like Kim Shamrock. And nowadays, right now, he's got a crazy, awesome feud going on with Jushin Thunder Liger, in which Kishin Liger came out, which has only happened like 4 other times. It's like the crazy demon spirit of Jushin Liger, and Liger unmasked, and oh, dude, I got goosebumps when I watched it. So like, yeah, man, yeah, I'm not just like, I'm a wrestling mark, but like to see stuff like that, man, it gets me hyped and excited, and I always love to see what Suzuki's still up to. He also had a thing with Matt Riddle, Matt Riddle's Bloodsport originally, in which they had a really cool concept. Matt Riddle basically took this during WrestleMania weekend, this idea of kind of taking it like an underground fight or an early UFC, no ropes in the ring, so you can't use the ropes. It was all kind of like hard hits and submission style wrestling. And it's still going on now that Matt Riddle's in WWE. He doesn't do the blood sport anymore. He gave it over to Josh Barnett. So now it's his, but that's another fun one. You can find that on YouTube, I think, still, with Suzuki and Matt Riddle, fun back and forth, in which I probably would not be able, if I ever wrestled Suzuki, I couldn't like not smile like that whole time. Like I would be smiling and he would be literally beating the shit out of me, and I'd probably still be smiling. So
even without teeth, this is the most amazing thing ever.
Thank you so much. Arigato. Like,
thank you. May I have another?
Yes, seriously. Stretch me out, and all my joints would be gone. I'd have to retire from my first ever match ever. So yeah.
Well, Party Johnnetty, there's a few things I can do in life. PodRocker bumps in Mexico. But one thing I'm really good at is reading Wikipedia. So let me share some of the championships and accomplishments of one Riho. So in DD Pro Wrestling, she was the 6-person tag team champion. There's 2 versions of it, I guess. There's I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But there's the one she won with Kenny Omega, and the other one she won with the Great Kojika. She won a Rumble in Fuka Matsuri. In Gacho Move Pro Wrestling, she was the Asian Dream Tag Champion. She was the Triple Crown Champion, the Super Asia Champion, the Climax Champion, Go-Go Green Curry Knob Kun Cup. Say that a few times. The Super Asia First Champion Determination Tournament. An Ice Ribbon. She was the Ice Times 60 Championship. International Ribbon Tag Team Championship, the Triangle Ribbon Champion, the Teens 5 Tournament Champion, and the first Triple Crown Champion there as well. In Singapore Pro Wrestling, she was the Queen of Asia Champion, the current there as well. And in the World Wonder Ring Stardom, the High Speed Champion, like you mentioned, and she's currently the champion there as well. So a nice little accolades, across multiple different kinds of promotions.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Now, will she be the AEW first ever women's champion?
Oh, yeah. She's going to be the first woman with Nyla Rose to fight for that coveted AEW Women's Championship belt. This Wednesday, coming up Wednesday away, It's gonna be exciting. Like we're gonna see somebody crowned women's champion. Like we covered Nyla Beast last week, and we're covering Riho this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's dude, I can't wait.
It's gonna be exciting. I'm hoping Riho pulls it out because I kind of always like the underdog because it is kind of a David versus Goliath type story. Because Nyla Rose has a lot of the size advantage, but Riho has the speed. So I'm really hoping to see Riho pull something cool out.
Yeah, right.
But also, like we like to talk about when we're doing these wrestler spotlight is some of their 5-star matches. So what are some of the most historical matches for Riho?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, Shawn Michael, it's a little bit harder to find some of her ice ribbon stuff, the stuff that really kind of showcases who she is and how she wrestled. And I mean, unless you can find it on DVD, and then you have to, if you can find it here in the States, and then probably more than likely you have to get a region-free DVD player to watch some of this stuff. It's going to be a little bit harder to get to that. The Gato Move has some of her matches on YouTube. Singapore Pro Wrestling actually has a match between Riho and Mikado. That's a fun one too. I know Gato Move actually has her farewell match up against Emi Sakura, and there's a really, it's a fun match between Michael Nakazawa and Naka Sakazaki.
Naka.
Yeah, Naka. and it versus Riho and Kenny Omega that someone actually just uploaded last week. And the quality sound-wise isn't the best, but you get the gist when you watch the match. It's a fun little comedic match, so it's nice. It's gives you more of an idea of what she went through with like Kenny and whatnot. And I think there's still some stuff up for DDT Pro as well that you can find on YouTube. But yeah, her all Elite Wrestling matches are up there as well. And I don't think there's too much there's not like, I don't know what Meltz has rated her matches. I don't think he's rated, the only thing that I think maybe he's rated is probably her AEW stuff. And I think we've kind of went through some of those, so it's not like they were 5-star matches, but if you like Joshi Wrestling, check her out, man. Like, there's not much to say. YouTube is such a great treasure trove of learning about some of these wrestlers.
Yeah, and I'm super excited for the first ever women's title match that she's going to be in. It's that's why we picked out Nyla Rose and her to touch on here for these these 2 spotlight episodes. So lots of exciting stuff coming from AEW. Do you have anything you want to throw extra with Riho, or does that kind of tidy up our Riho spotlight episode?
I think that tidies it up. I mean, the one thing that I have to say, looking at it from, I guess, a non-kayfabe point of view, is she doesn't have like a set in stone contract with All Elite Wrestling. So will that kind of say, hey, is this guaranteed for Nyla Rose? Will she end up winning, or can they still make it believable? I mean, honestly, if they probably really pushed Riho's championships in the East, I think that would make it a lot more believable that she stands a chance. Because I think that is one thing that wrestling fans will look at. They'll be like, well, I mean, yeah, she's kind of signed, but it's almost like a match base by base contract. Like, hey, it's almost like a monthly thing, which we saw with Chris Jericho and WCW back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, will she get a championship? But look at that. Chris Jericho was month by month, and he did. So there's always a possibility. And maybe that's what they're playing. Maybe there'll be some announcement that she signs full-time. She wins this and signs full-time over there. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't mean anything at all. I mean, Kenny has the right to wrestle elsewhere, as like I just mentioned that match. So maybe that's the kind of contract that they have going with her. Same with Chris Jericho. He can still wrestle in New Japan. Maybe that's just it. Only time will tell. So, bringing that up makes you go, well, is it solidified that Nyla Rose is going to win the championship? Still, I don't think so, but I do think that's one point that needs to be made. So yeah, that's it for my Riho talk. I still think, there might be some out there that's wouldn't believe she would be a good first champion, but I'd throw that out the window. I think she would. I think either woman would be a good first champion for AEW.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about, and unfortunately, you kind of have that, like, knowing that there's a little bit you break kayfabe with it, but seeing kind of the matches that she had, it felt like it was more like, oh, here's a spotlight of somebody else that's not really like in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
So when they had the match announced, that her, and I can't remember what the name of the other one, the other woman she was fighting, but when they had their matches, like the other number one contender, I'm like, okay, whoever wins that battle royale is probably going to be the champion. So,
yeah.
And they could always play on this, like, well, that's what you would expect, but that's not what's going to happen. But it's like I said, I'm tuning in for sure, so I'm excited for it.
Yeah, man, definitely.
All right, well, let's jump into a little under the ring news, and we'll get in the ring. So for a while now, we AEW was going to have this TV show on Wednesday nights. People were saying, well, what's it going to be? Is it going to be Wednesday night? This is going to be, something this. And they came out and said AEW on TNT. And at first I was kind of like, all right, like it's like it grew on me, actually. It's like the NBA on TNT, the MLB on TNT. It's like, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But just this past week, they announced that it does have a name, and it's probably the worst kept secret in all of professional wrestling. It is Dynamite. So AEW on TNT is going to be called Dynamite. So what are your thoughts on that, party, Johnnetty?
Nice. I enjoy that. I like that a lot better than what they originally went with on their trademark applications for Tuesday night and Wednesday night Dynamite. I just like keeping it short, keeping it simple like that. I also would have liked wrestling on TNT as well, either way, or if they still go with that. I think it's fun. It kind of puts us back to Nitro again, right? So, it's a fun little nod to TNT. And also a cool wrestling name to me.
Yeah, I dig it. I saw it was a couple of days before they announced it, but Cody Rhodes was teasing. He's like, all right, I love mascots, so I'm thinking about having a dinosaur mascot that shoots stuff in the crowd, and we'll call him Dynamite. And then like 2 days later, they announced that the name of the show is going to be Dynamite.
Nice. Yeah, he was the best at like basically kind of spoiling it all the time. Like he's like, who knows if there's going to be a name for the show? Wink, there is.
Yeah, I love getting a little bit of spoil, getting the teasers and the Easter eggs. It's like that stuff's just like up my wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah, man.
The biggest story I think came from last week's Being the Elite, and it was with MJF talking about Brandon Cutler, and this has been something he's been pushing out a ton on his social media. And we found out that MJF doesn't play D&D.
Yes.
And what's awesome about this is crossed like the wrestling like bubble, and there's like Mangella, the like dude that played the werewolf on True Blood.
Yeah.
He's like showing off his like freaking ridiculous body, being like, well, I do. There's some other cute lady who, like, I don't know what I didn't see what I think she's a writer or something like that. Basically talking about, like, well, I do. But MJF in MJF fashion just keeps hammering back at him, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely hilarious. I loved the power lifter lady who is like, I do, and I could easily lift you over my head. Like, it was a lot of fun back and forth. I love that it's gotten out of that, out of the wrestling realm and into the kind of, once again, like national spotlight enough to make, Joe is actually a big time wrestling fan too. So like, that's awesome. That's something I don't think a lot of people know. You can actually see some YouTube stuff with him and Dungeons and Dragons as well. He has one of the coolest man caves I think I've ever seen in my life. Regarding Dungeons and Dragons, go to YouTube, check it out. It is awesome. And, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that this like dude who's ripped, who's like, I mean, shoot, I think he's been on people's sexiest man lists forever.
Well, he always finishes third to us. It's me, exactly. 1, you 2, but he's number 3. I mean, he's all right. I mean,
well, yeah, exactly. You can't. Not everyone can be the PodRockers. Only we can be the PodRockers.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's definitely cool to see people outside of the realm get at MJF, and it just gets his name out there even more. And it's hilarious, man. I love that he takes on this bully role, and it is something that like. I know like WWE has Be a Star. And so they really, whenever like a heel gets almost too much heat on them, sometimes they feel like they need to take that away, like take the momentum away. To me, I've always thought that was a mistake. What I always thought is that should always be used as a learning experience for kids too, and be like, look, bullies are always going to be there in your life, but make it a learning experience. You might look at it as a bully, but there might be something going on in their life that they've just are being irrational about and taking out on you when they shouldn't, blah, 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 stuff like that. And then there's just some assholes, man. You're always going to have assholes in life. Not everyone is one, but, it happens. And MJF just does a terrific job of being one.
Well, and you see that, like, the learning opportunity there, like, MJF becomes the champion. He's still an asshole. He's like, hey, guess what? Assholes win all the time, bitches.
Yeah, exactly. Assholes finish first, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, man.
So in that same, I guess it was at the being the Elite, but he had the best line of all when he was talking about the Jericho match at Full Gear, calling him a little bit of the dad bod.
Yeah.
But from that, we get the announcement that on November 20th, AEW is going to be in Indianapolis as they're coming to the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. So that'll be November 20th. So everything's announced to Full Gear. So we're going to start seeing the December. And like we've been talking, that's getting closer and closer to the Midwest. So hopefully sooner than later, we're going to be getting something, kind of in our backyard.
Hey, we said we want to talk about that.
Well, the PodRockers party, it stays there, right?
Yes. What happens in Longhorn stays in Longhorn's bathroom, all right?
And the other thing I thought I'd announce, so I know we're starting out, the podcast is getting out there, so people are starting to get in the PodRockers, on that train here. But I just want to say, so Jericho's mystery partners, right? They haven't been announced, but if you listen to this podcast, we're going to tell you. Party Johnnetty, who are those mystery partners?
Oh, man, I have been so excited to mention this. Okay, are you guys ready for this? We got
roll.
the scoop. It's Shawn Michael and Party Johnnetty. Yes, the PodRockers are the mystery partners for Chris Jericho. Oh, it is going to be awesome. We've been
PodRocker Nation. Yeah, so we didn't lose the belt the third time we went to Steakhouse, and Y2J's like, hey, listen, if you guys can actually not screw up once in a while, I'll let you be the mystery partners. We're like, fucking right, we got this tab too. That's the best thing about credit cards, is you can like charge as much as you want, and technically you don't have to pay it back, right? Like you just keep sitting there, you keep charging.
Free money.
Yeah, and like, if they max out, it's like, well, you cut it up, throw it away. Guess what? You get a new one.
Exactly. I just got a text, man, from Chris.
Oh,
did you get this?
What'd CJ say? I didn't get it. No, my phone got shut off. I don't think I switched the credit card on it, so I don't have service anymore for some reason. But what'd CJ say? Is he excited? Hey, is he giving us? He's going to get our gear, right? We're going to have some awesome gear. Is that what this is about? Does he need to know our sizes? Heavyweight. Just tell him heavyweight.
I guess there was a misunderstanding.
Well, what he said, I'm sure he clearly said, I don't want to see you guys again until. Did he say ever? I thought he said Wednesday. I don't think he said ever. No. I heard restraining order, but to me, I thought that was slang for Wednesday Dynamite.
Yeah, no. This actually, this actually says that we're not allowed in the building ever.
Ever?
There must be something wrong here, right? I mean, like, we were training for this, we were partying for this.
Yeah, we've been doing those PodRocker bumps like all weekend. Like, I am psyched and ready to go.
I was just gonna say, man, I can't tell you how many bumps that I've taken so far to get ready for this match. I mean,
I'm sure. Listen, we'll give him a call after the show. We'll get it cleared up with CJ.
Yeah, for sure. There was a big misunderstanding, I'm sure, right? Tony Khan, right? Like,
yeah, TK knows,
sure,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, remember we were standing behind that guardrail, we're like, TK, and he looked at us like, that's basically like, hey, guess what, PodRockers, you're all in.
You're signed. Yeah, exactly. That's how I took it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've got all these credit cards lined up, because I know the check's in the mail. That's what I told them. I'm like, hey, credit card company, I'm all in, and they said, no, you're all broke, and I said, no, you obviously don't get it. That's on you. That's a you problem, credit card company.
Exactly. That's your fault for giving me free money and putting a limit on it. See, you didn't invest enough, right? Like,
That's
you didn't
right.
invest enough into the PodRockers. But we'll be coming back stronger. We'll be coming back stronger.
Yep. This PodRocker train's not going to stop. There's no stops on this PodRocker train. It goes cross country.
That's right. Woo woo, baby.
Yeah. Well, let's break a little kayfabe. Let's talk about the Jericho's mystery partner. So, like, I know for some reason CJ's acting like he's not going to have us, but let's hypothetically say, for, spoiler reasons, it's not us. Who do you think the mystery partners are going to be?
Oh, man. It seems to me that it would be LAX. They just recently had their Impact, I think the final debut, or their last match with them, and they had a good going off. That makes sense. Who else? I don't know. Maybe it's I don't think it would be, but maybe it's Angelico. I'm not too for sure. Who do you think?
What do you think if all of a sudden the lights go down, you hear the cawing of a crow, and you see the Villain Enterprise logo up on the screen, and you see Marty Scurll and Flip Gordon walking out?
Holy crap, man.
That's who. I know there's they've been kind of teasing all this stuff, dropping Easter eggs. Marty started the VETV recently, which I've been watching a bunch of, and this last episode they cut it off saying who you gonna sign with, Marty?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That would be sweet. Now, my one thing was, I read that his contract expired in November, though.
Is it too far out?
So it'd be a month away, but who knows? I mean, obviously, there's no telling. They could be doing a thing with ROH. We don't know.
Could be. Yeah.
There's still stuff to come. I don't know if that's it'd be, oh my gosh, could you imagine if that's what happened, if for whatever reason they allowed that or something, because I know Flip's contract I think is up next year, I want to say, or maybe he signed on till 2021.
Oh, so he's got a little extended one. Dang it, that stinks.
That's what I thought, but I could be wrong on that one too. But
unless maybe they buy him out or something like that. But I mean, that's going back through Being the Elite. Marty and Flip are the two characters in that just freaking I absolutely love, and I would love to see Marty in AEW.
But you're totally right, man. They have been both have been hinting back and forth on each other. This week's episode, Marty Scurll pops up on Being the Elite under the Instagram going live.
Yeah. All my friends are dead.
All my friends are dead, yeah. And he's still in, when you watch the intro videos, the little animated, Marty's still in it. And so is Flip. They're both still in it.
Well, and I know there was a episode where they're sitting around a table and they hear Marty talk. There was an episode where when they're talking about who's going to replace Moxley, and they said, well, can we get Marty to do it? And they're like, no, he's busy or he's dead to us. And it's well, what about Flip? So it's definitely kind of they're teasing it for sure.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that'd be fun. That would be huge for both ROH and AEW if somehow we find out that there is, maybe that they did have some sort of agreement where, they can start using talent from ROH. I mean, I think we might have talked about this. I feel out of all the indie promotions lately, ROH kind of got the biggest shaft from everyone.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of no one, if you're not a diehard ROH fan, not a lot of people know what's going on in ROH right now. And so it's really okay, what's going to happen with them if they lose Marty? they still have a lot of talented guys there. Don't get me wrong, but will there be some names that really stick around and bring ROH back up to the forefront? They had recently just been here in Dearborn, and unfortunately I missed out on it. I didn't know until the day before that they were coming, and I was like, man, I wish I could have went. And so it's like crazy to me how things are getting with them. They had moved out of Dearborn to go to a bigger venue, and now they're like back in Dearborn. So I don't know the whole idea behind that. I don't know if they were just like, well, yeah, the other place was too expensive and we didn't know how many fans we were going to get. I heard it was a decent turnout still, but anyway, like you said, that would be absolutely awesome if it was Marty and Flip coming out.
Yeah, and I feel like the LAX is a little bit too on the nose because they're the ones who attacked the Young Bucks last pay-per-view, so that feels a little too kind of on the nose. But again, just like I'm so ready for this AEW Dynamite to get going. Like it's been, I can't tell you how long it's been since I'm like I can't wait for wrestling to like happen, like to be weekly thing.
Yeah.
But while we're breaking kayfabe, so if we can't be the mystery partners, what we can do is this thing that they're in talks of doing. So AEW is in talks to do a companion series after Dynamite. So basically it's kind of one of those like after talk shows, like they do like the Walking Dead after show. They're wanting to kind of do like a post game, companion series after AEW Dynamite. So like we would be ripe for this. We're interviewing the wrestlers, we're talking to them, we're doing our bits. We're like we could get the outfits, we could do our PodRocker gimmick. Like I think we could do this. PodRockers or Dynamite PodRockers. I mean, it is just built for us.
It's printing money, baby. It would be amazing to hit. Oh, hold on, I got another text.
Oh God, I really need to. When you sign up for like 6 credit cards, like the 7th one's really hard to get. I don't know why. Maybe I need a new social security number.
You should try a guy. I know a guy. We'll talk after.
Okay. Is it the same guy that gives us the bumps?
I'm not allowed to say that on air.
Oh, okay. I know his cousin did some stuff too, so I wasn't sure if it was him or his cousin.
Yeah. This text actually says you guys can't be on the companion series also.
Like, well, I mean, we got to be in our gimmick. I mean, that makes sense. Like, we can't just be, Shawn and John. We got to be Party Johnnetty and Shawn Michael.
That's right. We're just never Shawn and John. We're
right.
PodRockers 24/7.
I don't know why they text you that and assume that we would come as Shawn and John. Like, what are we, like in a clothing company from the early 2000s? No, we're Party Johnnetty and Shawn Michael.
That's right. We are not
Listen,
a clothing company.
I've got TK and I are Twitter friends, so I will hit him up and tell him like, hey, what's the deal here? But again, man, I got to figure out this internet thing too. It's been spotty. I tell you what, credit card companies, you don't pay 6 or 7 of them. They get all gripey about it. It's like, listen, my stock is on the rise. You got to buy low and you're going to get it high. Just get on this ride and go.
That's right, man. That's right. Because a PodRocker party don't stop.
It doesn't. That party train keeps going. Choo choo. All right. So interesting kind of side note. Kylie Rae, who had just left AEW, is returning to the ring. The article is from September 21st, so a couple days ago, in Frankfort, Illinois. So she was back in the ring wrestling, which was good to see. I'm curious to see where this is kind of going to lead, if she's just going to keep doing indie stuff, or if we're going to see her kind of making a move back into something. Yeah,
right? I was very surprised to see that right away, that's happening. I mean, good on her. I'm a bit bummed, actually. I'm still bummed about it. I thought she was a good fit, but maybe there's something there that we just aren't privy to know, and I mean, I wish nothing but the best for her. I hope things work out, and I hope she comes back.
But that is all I have for the news, so let's jump into the From the Stand. So again, this is where you guys can send us some letters. If you want, do your gimmick. Shoot your gimmick on, you can do video if you want, we'll put it on our YouTube. You can send just audio, and we'll throw it in here, and I am so excited to get these going, especially when we get into AEW on TNT, All Elite Wrestling Dynamite. And, when we're doing those companion series, maybe we'll try to put them on there too. It could happen. You never know.
Exactly.
So just record your voice and send it to us at PodRockers at BeElitePod.com. So, Party Johnnetty, what do we have coming up next?
Well, our next episode, we will be bringing you a road to show for AEW on TNT, and that's AEW Dynamite.
Oh yeah, we'll come out on Tuesday with a pre-show to let you know how excited you are, because we're going to be excited. We're going to be ready for it. And then we'll be covering AEW Dynamite. I am so excited to get this going. I say it so much because you know what? I just can't handle it. Like, it's dynamite. You're holding it in your hand. You can hold it for so long before it explodes. It's kind of like me in puberty.
Yep, that's right. Just like you in puberty.
All right. Well, PodRocker Nation, reach out to BEP by following us on Twitter at BElitePod and Instagram at BElitePodcast. Email us questions, comments, or those promos to PodRockers at BeElitePod.com. Like us on Facebook by searching for BeElitePod.
Well, we are desperately out of time for this week's Be Elite Pod, but until next week, I'm Party Johnnetty.
And did you said it's legal in Mexico now?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. We know where this party's going. All right, let's get there. And I'm Shawn Michael saying so long from our BEP Home Elite Studios.
Remember, get off the street and be elite. Time to start up our Lucha Libre training, huh?